You are Locked On Braves POSTCAST, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, your team every day.
Hello and welcome into the Braves POSTCAST, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. Grant McAuley, Jake Mastroianni with you to wrap up what was a very good road trip for the Braves, though it ended on a down note on Sunday as the LA Dodgers scored a 3-1 win. They avoided the 4-game sweep. It had never happened before. The Braves were hoping to get one of those at Dodger Stadium. That was something that they'd very much like to have put that exclamation point maybe on this trip, but you will take 8 out of 10. I would say 10 out of 10 times. Be that as it may, Braves losers on Sunday. We got a lot to talk about for this game, and of course to get you set for the Braves coming home for a nice little homestand against the Cardinals and the Pirates coming up, and we'll get into all of it on this edition of the POSTCAST. As always, make sure you subscribe to Locked On Sports Atlanta here on YouTube. Click the bell. You get notified every time we drop a new episode. Make sure you leave us a like and a comment. We appreciate all those. Share the show with a friend and subscribe to Locked On Braves wherever you get your podcast. Jake, this was by far not the most difficult game for the Braves all season long, but they couldn't quite get the offense going, and the Dodgers did just enough to avoid, as I mentioned, a 4-game sweep at the hands of Atlanta, which had never happened at Dodger Stadium.
Yeah, it never happened for a good reason. It's a hard place to play, and obviously the Braves, as great as they were on this road trip, maybe ran out of a little bit of a gas there at the end.
Yeah, and it's hard to close out a 4-game sweep, I think, regardless of what team you play. I mean, if you're playing 750 baseball, you're doing pretty well. But a 4-game sweep, as nice as it would have been, not to belabor the point, the Braves, again, should be very happy with taking 3 out of 4 from the Dodgers, sweeping the Colorado Rockies, and taking a series from the Giants on a West Coast trip that may be as good or better than any that I can remember in recent Braves history. Let's talk about game number 136, though it pains us to do so, perhaps. 90-46, the Braves are. 1 run. It came on a Matt Olson home run. That was a highlight. We'll get to that in a moment. 5 hits, couple of errors, 4 men left on base. Dodgers with 3 runs on 11 hits, no errors. They left 9 men on base, so they didn't run away with it. They did, as I mentioned, just enough offensively to grab a lead, and Bobby Miller, he took care of the rest. 7 strong innings for him. He's 9-3 now on the year. The young pitcher for the Dodgers helping get his team back in the win column as he picks up the victory. Charlie Morton with a 14-11 record now after taking this loss. Brusdar Graterol closed it out, save number 7 for him. 2 hours, 33 minutes, 47,499 on hand to see it at Dodger Stadium. Let's start with Charlie Morton. This was not as crisp as we've seen him of late. I don't know if there's any kind of after effect from having to, go on a long road trip, then go from Coors Field to a more of a normal condition start. Regardless, Charlie, a couple of runs, they both came in his final inning. He wasn't able to record any outs in that 5th. Not a lot of damage for him, but Jake, it just did not seem like he had the pinpoint control he was looking for, and certainly not the swing and miss that we've become accustomed to this past 4 starts.
Yeah, just 6 whiffs on 30 swings, 20%. That's not very Charlie Morton-like, but only 86.2 mile-per-hour average exit velocity. Again, he didn't necessarily get lit up either. It's just did not quite have that control like we saw these past 4 or 5 outings. Who knows if it has effect here? Peter Moreland on the broadcast talked about pitching at Coors and how it changes the movement on your pitches. So maybe that had a little bit to do with it, although the rest of the pitching staff seemed to be okay with that. So maybe just one of those games with Charlie where he didn't have anything. Kind of reminded me of that Met start where he gave, 5 scoreless innings and really didn't feel like he had anything, and obviously walked 7 in that one. So unfortunately, it's just the nature of Charlie Morton. Sometimes he's going to be a little inconsistent with that control, but he had been so good and so consistent. Hopefully this is just a little bit of a blip, and then he gets back on track going into the postseason.
Yeah, and I wouldn't really call this any kind of a big step back for him. The Dodgers didn't knock him around, hit 3 or 4 home runs off of him, anything like that. As you mentioned, the swing and miss wasn't there. And when you don't have that, it makes it very difficult to navigate a major league lineup, especially one that's as pesky as this Dodgers team can be. And pesky's selling them short. I mean, it's a very good lineup, and there are obviously some very talented hitters in there, but it wasn't the super talented hitters that were necessarily getting him. It was Miguel Rojas with an RBI double. That came on an 0-2 pitch. The Braves brought the infield in. That's a risk sometimes you take, just trying to, on a day where you feel like you may not have a lot going on. Runs may be hard to come by, and Mookie Betts was able to sneak one over the infield and get the Dodgers a second run there, and that was charged to Charlie Morton as well. Dodgers also added a run in the 8th inning. Ben Heller, a little bit of trouble with the fielding. Thought he was going to be able to get out of it with the first one. He wasn't able to corral, but then a single that escaped the infield and was able to plate a 3rd run for L.A., but it wasn't really so much about L.A. scoring 3 runs, I think, Jake, as much as it's about Atlanta only scoring 1 run in this game. But if they were going to score one, it's nice to see Matt Olson break this home run drought, his first since the 13th of August. That's an 18-game drought for him. 2 for 4 as well. He added a single late, but home run number 44 to get him back up with Shohei Ohtani among the major league leaders in home runs, and maybe take another step towards some Braves history as he's 7 away from Andrew Jones' single-season record of 51.
Got to feel really good for Matt Olson. You can see the frustration on him here lately. It just seems like every ball he's just missing. Every close pitch is going against him, and that's just what happens when you're in a funk like he is. So hopefully this kind of jump starts him. Had 2 hits on the day as well. So just 2 of the 5 hits that the Braves had in this one. So great to see that for Matt Olson. I think he's got another hot streak coming here. And again, hopefully it's leading into the postseason. That's when you want to get all your guys going at the right time if you can.
Yeah, and this happened a year ago for Matt Olson. Of course, the slump was a lot longer, a lot more pronounced in the second half. And then all of a sudden, he made a nice little adjustment before that Mets series, hit the 3 home runs there, hit well for the Braves in the postseason when really the rest of the team was having some trouble in that, being able to really get any offense going against the Phillies, not to dredge that up. But regardless, Matt Olson is capable of doing some big things. We have seen that. I'm with you. I really feel like, and this was a series of some very questionable calls by home plate umpires, both for the Braves and against the Braves. But it did feel like more times than not, Matt Olson might have found himself on the wrong side of some called strike threes or just some borderline pitches that weren't strikes going against him. But it's a long baseball season. You can't control that kind of stuff. And I think he's done a nice job of being able to work his way through. But he was hitless prior to picking up these 2 hits in the finale. So good to see him maybe get some momentum. Enjoy the off day on Monday, because I don't think that you can really overstate after you've played 10 games in 3 cities out west, including that stop in Denver, grinding it out against a very tough Dodgers team to take 3 out of 4, adding a couple of games towards your best record in baseball lead. So the home field advantage the Braves and Dodgers are fighting over for the postseason. A lot of things went right, I guess, on this road trip, and that shouldn't surprise anybody based on how we've seen the Braves play of late. But the fact they were able to go in and do these things, and maybe seeing Matt Olson get things going, along with the rest of this offense, that could be a pretty good thing for the Braves down the stretch, as you mentioned, and getting tuned up for the postseason.
Yeah, it could be. And somebody who's definitely tuned up is Marcell Ozuna, another double in this game right off the top of the wall. And, this is just what this offense is capable of. And it kind of feels like Riley and Olson have been absent for a little bit now, and this offense is still able to go. We talk about the depth of this lineup, but the Dodgers, they're trying to find out who's going to start for them in the postseason. Bobby Miller has certainly made his case, especially against the Braves. That's 2 really good outings against them now, so certainly something the Braves got to figure out.
Yeah, if you're the Dodgers, you got to love the way that he was throwing. And I'll get back to Bobby Miller in a moment, but you mentioned Marcell Ozuna. He was 1 for 3 with a walk, just missed a home run his first time up. Just continues to absolutely stay locked in as he has been for the better part of the last month. Ozzy Albies with another hit. That makes, I believe, 5 games in a row for him. Also drew a walk. That's good to see. But Bobby Miller, it was not easy to get hits off of this kid. 3 of them, the Olson home run, the only run, only 1 walk, just 5 strikeouts. But the stuff that he's got, to your point, if you're looking for candidates to throw in the postseason for you, I would say that this was quite the audition for Bobby Miller, who has been putting together a really nice rookie season.
He has. And look, he's, a big fastball pitcher, but the Braves typically handle fastballs really well, but they just could not catch up to him on this day. And like I said, second start really against the Braves now that he's had a lot of success against them. So really good young pitcher. Obviously, the Dodgers do a great job developing pitching over there, just like the Braves do. So he's going to be a problem for a while. And he's somebody the Braves are going to have to do some more video on and figure out, because again, they could see him once more in the postseason.
Yeah, and I think if all goes according to plan, the Braves would not mind running into the Dodgers again, because that would mean, quite obviously, that they'd end up in the National League Championship Series. And we've seen the history between these 2 clubs, 3 meetings in October in the last 5 years. Twice they have met in the NLCS. They'd love to make it a third one. And given the history of both of these clubs having advanced over the other to win a World Series, that would make for quite a tasty little rivalry between these 2 clubs if they do meet again this season. Matt Olson's 44th home run of the year. I mentioned that was, breaking a home run drought for him. It also brings him to a record of sorts for Braves first baseman. The most home runs in a season is 44, set by Andres Galarraga in 1998. So the Big Cat and Matt Olson are now tied in that regard as well. And the Braves now have 259 home runs on the season as an offense. That's the 9th most all time. That's only 20 home runs shy of the National League record, Jake. I looked this up. You probably won't be shocked to know that the top 4 home run totals by a team in a single season, they were all established in 2019. Yep, using those, I would say, the questionable quality control baseballs that were in play back then. That's when the Braves set their franchise record as well of 249. But this is a Braves team that is doing some stuff that I think against the backdrop of that, it I think stands out just a little bit more exactly how special this Braves power barrage has been in 2023.
Saw somebody say the other day, I'd love to see what this Braves lineup did with those 2019 baseballs. But I mean, I don't think it matters what baseballs you're using this year. This Braves team just so powerful up and down. You saw d'Arnaud the other night get that 10th home run to give them 10 hitters with double-digit homers this year, and it's just such a dynamic and powerful offense. It's why you can't ever count them out of a game, even like the game on Sunday where couldn't get anything going. All of a sudden, Matt Olson hits a home run, and you're right back in it. You're one swing away until Heller allowed the insurance run later. It's what makes them so dangerous. Look at the game on Saturday as well. Nothing going there, and then they get the big 3-run home run in extra innings. So it's just such a powerful lineup top to bottom. They can never be counted out of a game.
Yeah, it's not always Ronald Acuna Jr. It wasn't on this day. You might have noticed his name kind of absent from our discussion. He took an offer. Those are pretty rare for him. He had a great series against the Dodgers. No two ways about that. But it was quiet toward the top of the lineup. Austin Riley had his hits in this series, some of them, and left the yard, obviously. So hopefully he's going to get things going as well. But Orlando Arcia's big home run really, I think, might be the standout moment of this series for the extra inning win over the Dodgers, because as we talked about, it's a tough place to play. The Braves had not won a series in Los Angeles since way back in 2012. I think this Arcia home run, when you're going back and looking at the highlight reel for the Braves in the regular season of 2023, Jake, that one's going to stand up pretty large.
Yeah, that one in the Grand Slam on Thursday as well, just because of the significance and historical significance of that. But certainly when you look at this series, you're going to look at that home run from Arcia, because it just felt like a game the Dodgers, should have won with the way that they were shutting down that Braves offense for so long. But got to give a lot of credit to the Braves pitching, holding them down as well. I thought the Braves pitching was outstanding in this series overall. I know you had a couple of hiccups there on Thursday. Maybe Morton wasn't as sharp, but bullpen really bounced back nicely after that Thursday game.
Speaking of some outstanding pitching and the bullpen in particular, a nice little accolade for Raisel Iglesias, who was named the National League's reliever of the month for the month of August. 13 games, no runs, just 7 hits, 4 walks, 17 strikeouts. He had a nice scoreless streak that was going, 18 consecutive outings, was charged with that run with the extra innings runner in that victory in Game 3 of this series, but 19 straight saves for him. And Jake, I know a lot of folks that kind of looked maybe early in the year, because Raisel was late coming out of spring training, was dealing with a little of an arm issue back then. But the way he's pitching right now, it looks like he has rounded into form at a very good time as the Braves come down the stretch.
Would love to get second half from last year, Raisel Iglesias back. Not that he's necessarily been bad this year, but he was just lights out last season. So hopefully he's getting on a run. I mentioned it yesterday. I thought he was one of his best performances in Saturday's game, closing that out, especially considering it was his 4th time pitching in 5 days. I thought he looked really good. Stuff was really sharp. So you know what he's capable of when he's on. You got that fastball, 95, 97, got a really good changeup in that slider as well. So it's going to be a deadly combination for Iglesias when he's on.
Yeah, he'll enjoy an off day. You mentioned he was used quite a bit here toward the end of the road trip, and I think that there were a few Braves relievers that Brian Snitker was wanting to stay away from in this finale. Unfortunately for Atlanta, weren't able to get the offense going, grab a big lead, and coast to a victory. The Dodgers take this one by a 3-1 score, and for Atlanta, they have to settle for 3 out of 4 in the series. But again, that is quite the accomplishment out in Los Angeles. We'll talk about the Tuesday Game 1 matchup for the Braves and the Cardinals as the Braves return to Truist Park, after I tell you about one of our great sponsors, and that, of course, is FanDuel. They are bringing you this episode of the Braves Postcast. Get ready for the NFL season with incredible offers from FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Plus, all customers who bet that $5 will get $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. So now is the best time to join FanDuel. The app's easy to use. You can be on everything from spreads to player props and much more. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season with an offer you won't want to miss. FanDuel, the official partner of the NFL. The Braves and the Cardinals are going to open up a series on Tuesday. That is after Atlanta enjoys this off day on Monday. Jake, there's no starter named as of now for Atlanta. Miles Michaelis is scheduled to take the ball for St. Louis, but there is some, intrigue about who it could be, and perhaps Michael Soroka will be making another start for the Braves come Tuesday against the Cardinals.
Yeah, Soroka, maybe Dylan Dodd. I think he would be on regular rest as well for that one. So we'll see which way the Braves go. The biggest thing, or another big thing about winning the series against the Dodgers, you kind of afford yourself another game to play with as far as it goes home field advantage in the National League there. So maybe an opportunity to give guys an extra day of rest in that starting rotation. So we'll see how the Braves handle it. But Cardinals have a tough year, not used to saying that. So hopefully the Braves can continue to rack up some wins, continue to coast, and get some starting pitchers rested down the stretch.
Yeah, most definitely. And that's a very good time to use some of the arms that you have to reset your rotation as you need. As you mentioned, give some guys some rest and use some other arms in their stead. And if you're looking at ways for the Braves to start trimming games off that magic number, Cardinals having a rough season. I'm sure the Braves would like to give the Pirates a little bit of a receipt for having to split that 4-game series on the road trip prior to this one. So we'll see how this week pans out for the Braves as they match up with a couple of National League Central teams. Game 1 of the series against the Cardinals on Tuesday will happen at 7:20 p.m. Eastern Time at Truist Park. That'll bring us to the end of this edition of the Braves Postcast. As always, I want to remind you to subscribe right here on YouTube to Locked On Sports Atlanta. Click the bell, get notified every time we drop a new episode of the Postcast, and also make sure you subscribe to Locked On Braves wherever you get your podcast. For Jake Mastroianni, I'm Grant McAuley. Once again, your final score, 3-1 Dodgers over the Braves. They salvaged the finale, but 8 out of 10 on the road trip for Atlanta as they roll into an off day on Monday. And we will catch you on Tuesday. And until then, so long, everyone.